Are Australians objectively worse at esports than any other country? And more so, we'll be looking at Overwatch today. I'm Defour, as you guys know. This will be the first video of my new format. And this wasn't the intended video I was going to make because that video is taking a bit more time. I want to get that one polished. But this video, are Australians weaker than the rest of the world at Overwatch esports, essentially? And unlike other people, I'm going to straight up just say, and I don't want to dilly-dally around, but yeah, we are weaker than the rest of the world at esports. And a lot of people, especially Australians, will try and defend us by saying that, we're not weaker, we're just never put against players from other regions, or, we are stronger than some regions or something. I don't believe that at all. So recently, before starting to go with the Overwatch League route with this channel, I've been looking through all contenders scenes, and I rewatched a lot of league matches recently just so I could get a good feel for the tier 2 scene and in comparison to the tier 1 scene. And what I noticed was my own region, the Australian region, seemed to be the most lacking region. There were some breakout stars I do want to mention, like the ones that are obviously in the league and the World Cup standouts are Trill, Custer, and Colorhex. And anyone who knows anything about the league, Colorhex is on Boston Uprising for next season, and Custer, he's on the LA Valiant. I don't know where Trill is, and I'm really sorry that I didn't actually look that up before this video. But apart from those people, I've noticed the games are just naturally slower, and I think I actually know the reason for that. And I think a lot of the pros, I don't hear it being talked about a lot, but the pros in Australia, they don't actually have like good scrimming partners. And that sounds really like, if I wasn't from Australia, that would sound like really egotistical, or like I'm talking down to Australians, like, nobody's good enough to scrim, we can't actually increase our skill because no teams can actually go up against each other and build skill. But what that actually is just because we are the way we are, and our internet infrastructure is the way it is, and we're so separated, our scrimming partners have to be from the islands around us, New Zealand, Australia itself, which isn't known for having many esports teams because our internet here sucks so much. And then if you want to become, and here's the quick secret, a little bit off topic, but if you want to become a good esports Australian team, move to China, move to Japan, move to Korea, move somewhere close in the region and scrim there. You will get better and better. And this is why I believe Australians are actually the weakest region. It's because even if we do scrim over and over and over and play against ourselves, we can only get as good as the best teams that spawned here and play against each other in contenders. Whereas teams in North America or South Korea, since they have such a deep understanding of the game, and since they play each other in the Overwatch League, they play each other in contenders all the time. Like, NA players go over to contenders Korea all the time, and there's a lot of players in those regions. They can get better and better. GOATS meta was decided by an NA team. Dive meta, I'm pretty sure, was a Korean thing. They're all metas built in those regions, whereas Australia, we're so small and have such a small pool of teams that aren't adept enough at the game. They're not good enough at the game. And it sounds really harsh, and I hate to say it, I want there one day to be an Australian Overwatch League team, but I'm afraid if it's made of full Australians, it will be one of the weakest teams in the league. And that just sounds gross to say, but it's true. We have just nobody in Australian Overwatch that can stand up. I'd nominate the best Australian player being Custer, because he has been voted the best in-game leader in the Overwatch League by a lot of fans. By a lot of fans. And I agree, the LA Valiant look like a god tier team with him when he's on the support role. And Dallas, it looked like, even though Dallas did have their thing where they were just pretty much falling apart in Season 1, if you guys remember stages 1, 2, 3, for a refresher, that team had so much drama. Custer was the only one who stayed off, Twitter. He stayed off all that shit. He was just positive. And while that's really good, he's mechanically, I'd say, not even top 5 for support players. And in-game comps, he's amazing, and I'm sure there's a lot of Australians like that, but I can't imagine an Australian player being mechanically as good or comp. I want to restart that sentence so bad. I can't see an Australian player coming out of just the Australian contenders scene, not from another scene, from Australia's contenders into Overwatch League and putting up a fight against other teams from NA, South Korea. South America is a little bit the same as Australia, but at least they can get scrims with the NA teams. Australia is so separated that we can only scrim against ourselves, and when we're scrimming against ourselves, we're scrimming against substandard players. And yeah, people will rise to the top and they'll look really good. Like I've got some, this is the grand final of Season 2 Australian contenders in the background. Not Australian contenders, but you guys know what I mean, that region. And it's just like, our region is so not dense with good players that the best players, of course they'll look good against the people they're beating, but you take them to North America, take them to South Korea, they'll just lose. And the sad thing is about this, like I get asked all the time, because I've said before, one day, literal dream, if I could get good enough at any game to go pro. A lot of people ask me, oh, why don't you just play for an Australian representative team? Because they're all weak. If you want esports success, just don't play for an Australian team. If you want to prove the world wrong, then yeah, play for an Australian team if you're from Australia. That's how you go out and prove a point. But that's just going against my video. And yeah, like I'm getting back to the previous thing, there is actually no way to change this unless like our internet gets buffed up big time. There's just not though. They're really like, we could scrim against Korean teams at I think 120 ping, and a lot of people out here in Australia, they're like 120 ping, I play ranked all the time on that, but as a pro you need those milliseconds. So really, Australian contenders, and this was the ultimate point of the video, Australian contenders is one of the most redundant region contenders there is. I think they should just generalize us in with the Asian contenders, really. Not South Korean contenders, just that maybe Chinese contenders. Just bundle us in there, because there's no point in having our own contenders region when the only talent we produce are the World Cup stars that break out, because no one looks at Australian contenders for new players. All the new expansion teams next season will all have their eyes on the Korean and NA contenders teams, some European contenders teams. I've said the word contenders 100 times, sorry if you're not following, and this video is way less on topic as the next one I'm working on. But yeah, to summarize my points, I do believe Australia is a weak Overwatch region. And if someone can prove me wrong one day, I want to meet that person and just pat them on the back. No, I want to sit there and applaud them. I will bow to the first Australian who actually beats Carpe, Prophet, somebody in a 1v1 on either the DPS, tank, support, I don't care, beats Jonak on Zen. God, I will get on my knees and start praising you. And I want that. I want an Australian to go that far, but we are by far the weakest region. And there is literally shit all we can do about it. So, I don't know what Blizzard can do. I don't know what anyone can do. I don't know if this video was even informative in any way. But that's just how I feel on the Australian scene in Overwatch. And with that, I'm not going to draw the video out anymore. I'm just going to end it there. So, hope you have a good rest of your day. It's been DeFore. Ciao.